Everyone thought she was just another face in the crowd, just one more person lost in the endless shuffle of daily life. But no one knew the secret she was hiding, a weight she carried in the silence of her own heart. The truth is, the quietest people often have the most to say, and her story was waiting for the right moment to finally be told. It was a rainy evening in the small, unassuming town of Willow Creek. A gentle, persistent drizzle had turned into a downpour, painting the streets in shimmering reflections of streetlights. People hurried along the sidewalks, their faces hidden under the domes of their umbrellas, all eager to get home to the warmth and comfort of their living rooms. But amidst the rush, she walked slowly, without an umbrella, letting the cool rain trace paths down her face. She was deep in thought, her gaze fixed on something far beyond the wet pavement in front of her. To anyone who might have glanced her way, she was just a woman caught in the rain. But no one noticed the way her hand was clenched in her pocket, gripping something small and solid. No one could have possibly known that what she carried, this tiny object, held the power to change not just her life, but everything. The rain washed over the town, but it couldn't wash away the secret she held. Earlier that same day, her ordinary routine was shattered. Tucked between a gas bill and a grocery store flyer was an envelope that didn't belong. It was made of thick, cream-colored paper, the kind people rarely use anymore. There was no return address, and her name was written in an elegant, yet unfamiliar script. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. The message inside was cryptic, just a few words scrawled in the same unfamiliar handwriting. Meet me at the old bridge at midnight. Everything depends on it. Her first instinct was to dismiss it as a prank, a strange joke. Who sends letters like this anymore? She tried to laugh it off, crumpling the paper in her hand and tossing it toward the trash can. But she missed, and as she bent to pick it up, a cold, heavy feeling settled in her chest. It was a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, a premonition that told her this was no joke. She couldn't ignore it, no matter how much she wanted to. The words echoed in her mind, a quiet but insistent drumbeat against the rhythm of her heart. As the hours ticked by, the sun dipped below the horizon, and the town of Willow Creek fell into a quiet slumber. But for her, there was no rest. The mysterious letter lay on her kitchen table, its words seeming to glow in the dim light. She paced her small apartment, a battle raging within her. Part of her screamed to lock the door, draw the curtains, and pretend the letter never arrived. It was safer that way. But another part, a curious and perhaps reckless part, was drawn to the mystery. What if it was important? What if everything really did depend on it? The weight in her chest grew heavier with each passing minute, a physical ache that wouldn't go away. She knew, with a certainty that frightened her, that she had to go. She had to know. Ignoring it felt like a bigger risk than facing whatever waited for her in the dark. Midnight arrived, and with it, a thick, rolling fog that blanketed the old bridge, swallowing the familiar landmarks and transforming the landscape into something ethereal and strange. The iron arches of the bridge disappeared into the mist, and the sound of the river below was a distant, muffled whisper. She stood at the entrance, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. The air was cold and damp, clinging to her skin. Every nerve was on high alert. She took a tentative step onto the bridge, her footsteps echoing unnervingly in the silence. Then, she heard another set of footsteps, just behind her. She spun around, her breath catching in her throat, but there was no one there. The fog swirled, playing tricks on her eyes. Was she imagining things? Her gaze fell upon the railing. A small, white envelope was propped against the cold, wet metal, as if it had been placed there only moments ago. Her hands shaking, she picked it up. Inside, there was no letter, only a photograph, A faded photo of herself from years ago, smiling, carefree, and scrawled on the back were four simple words. "Do you remember me?" She froze, the photograph slipping from her trembling fingers. It fluttered to the damp wooden planks of the bridge, face up. Her own younger, innocent face stared back at her. Memories, long buried and locked away, rushed back with the force of a tidal wave. A summer day, the smell of freshly cut grass, a promise made and broken. She remembered a friend, a confidant, someone she thought she had lost forever to time and tragedy. Her mind reeled. How could this be possible? Before she could process the flood of emotions, the sudden glare of headlights cut through the fog. A car, sleek and dark, had pulled to a stop at the end of the bridge. Her heart hammered against her chest. She couldn't see who was inside, but a profound sense of dread washed over her. A door opened, and a figure emerged, stepping slowly out of the shadows. It wasn't who she expected. It wasn't the face from her past. It was a complete stranger. The figure approached her silently, stopping just a few feet away. Without a word, the stranger extended a hand, offering her a single, ornate key. As her fingers closed around the cold metal, the figure leaned in and whispered, "Everything you know is about to change." The car and the stranger disappeared as quickly as they had arrived, melting back into the fog and leaving her alone on the bridge once more. The rain had softened to a light mist, but the chill in the air was deeper than before. She stood there for what felt like an eternity, staring at the strange, antique key in her palm. It felt heavy, not just with its physical weight, but with the weight of unanswered questions and a future that was now a complete unknown. What did it open? What was the truth behind the photograph? And who was that stranger? She had come to the bridge seeking answers, but instead, she was leaving with 1,000 more questions, and a key that promised either a new beginning or a devastating end. One thing was certain: her quiet, predictable life in Willow Creek was over. The life she knew had vanished into the night. She finally turned and walked away from the bridge, not back toward the familiar lights of her home, but in the opposite direction, toward the darkness. The key was clutched tightly in her hand, a tangible link to a destiny she didn't choose but now had to face. The rain continued to fall softly, washing the streets clean. But it couldn't erase what had happened. The town slept on, unaware of the secret that now walked among them, of the life that had been irrevocably altered on the old bridge at midnight. She disappeared into the night, a silhouette against the fading fog, carrying a secret that was hers and hers alone, a secret that would lead her down a path no one else could ever understand. Some secrets are meant to stay hidden, but not forever. What do you think the key unlocks? Let me know in the comments below. And if you love a good mystery, make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.